I am Ibrahim Traoré, and today I am removing the mask. A threat was made against my nation by the State of Israel. 4 days ago, the world held its breath. President Traoré had spoken. The deadline passed. From Israel, no reply, no acknowledgement, just silence. But not the kind of silence that soothes. It was charged, electric, ominous. The world watched. Leaders waited. Critics scoffed. Supporters held their breath. For 72 hours, the silence from Jerusalem echoed louder than any declaration. And then, it broke. Standing before a packed briefing room, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu emerged, not to offer pleasantries, not to buy time, but to speak directly to Africa, to the world, and to President Ibrahim Traoré. We have heard the words of President Traoré, Netanyahu said, and to those who believe Israel can be intimidated by threats or deadlines. He paused. We will not be dictated to. It was a headline-grabbing statement, sharp, unyielding, and deliberate. But underneath that familiar tone of resolve, there was something else, something different. Not quite a concession, not quite an escalation, but unmistakably recognition. This was no longer a diplomatic footnote. It had gone global. Netanyahu continued, "We respect the sovereignty and aspirations of all nations, but Israel will never apologize for defending its own sovereignty or for choosing its allies." It was the long-awaited official response, and then came the unexpected. The Prime Minister proposed a bold new initiative, a regional dialogue platform bringing together African and Middle Eastern leaders, not through coercion, not through threat, but through mutual recognition that the geopolitical landscape is shifting. He called it the New Equilibrium Initiator, a platform to reset relations between Africa and Israel. The invitation was extended to any nation willing to engage, openly, directly, and without preconditions. It wasn't an apology, it wasn't surrender, but it wasn't silence either. Across Africa, reactions were swift and divided. Some hailed Netanyahu's proposal as a win for diplomacy. Evidence, they said, that Traoré's firm stance had cut through the usual veil of dismissal. Others saw it as a strategic deflection, a calculated move to slow down the growing support for Traoré's Pan-African movement. In Burkina Faso, President Traoré issued a brief but powerful statement. "We do not demand dialogue, we demand dignity, and dignity is not granted at summits. It is shown in policy." He didn't reject the offer, but he didn't endorse it either, and that ambiguity only deepened the tension. Soon, African nations began taking independent action. Senegal froze a pending agricultural deal involving Israeli investors. Namibia postponed a key defense procurement agreement. Even typically neutral Ghana initiated a formal review of its diplomatic protocols with Israel. But it wasn't just governments that moved, it was people. In Kinshasa, students marched carrying banners that read, "Africa Decides." In Addis Ababa, civil society leaders gathered for forums on the future of African alliances. From Cape Town to Cairo, the energy was undeniable. Something had shifted, not just in foreign policy, but in posture. For decades, African nations were expected to react. Now they were setting the terms, and while the West called, predictably, for restraint, this time those calls rang hollow. No global power condemned Traoré. None dismissed Netanyahu, but everyone understood. This was not business as usual. This was a moment of momentum. Inside Israel, the domestic response was mixed. Some praised Netanyahu for stepping in before things spiraled. Others criticized him for legitimizing Traoré at all, arguing that even a response elevated a leader positioning Africa as a new geopolitical counterweight. Yet for many younger Israelis, the speech was overdue. One Tel Aviv activist posted, "If you ignore a continent long enough, don't be surprised when it stops asking for your attention." And now the world has entered full analysis mode. Think tanks, diplomats, and foreign policy experts are asking, did Ibrahim Traoré just break the unspoken rules of global diplomacy or rewrite them? Was his message truly about Israel or about the double standards Africa faces on the global stage? When is Africa heard only for convenience and ignored when inconvenient? Traoré's deadline forced a response. That response, no matter how careful, proved one undeniable truth. Africa's voice can no longer be sidelined. We now stand at a turning point. Neither war nor peace, but a fundamental challenge to how global power operates. The next chapter may not be defined by weapons or wealth, but by will. Traoré spoke with conviction. Netanyahu responded with resolve. But this is no longer just a standoff between two leaders. This is a ripple turning into a wave that could shift alliances, reshape diplomacy, and redefine what global respect really means. And now we ask, did Netanyahu speak as a leader or as a politician caught off guard? Has Traoré ignited something unstoppable? Are we witnessing the rise of a new global South, louder, bolder, and more united than ever before? Let us know what you think in the comments. Drop your flag. Tell us where you're watching from. And if you believe Africa's voice belongs at the center, not the sidelines, hit that like button. This isn't just another headline. This is history, and it's being written right now.